Las Vegas was once known as the city that never slept, where every hotel room lit up with life and every weekend promised record-breaking crowds. But in 2025, something has changed. On Labor Day weekend, a time that used to guarantee a sellout across the Strip hotel, occupancy fell to just 76%, a drop sharp enough to send shockwaves through the local economy. Tourists are still flying in, but instead of the thrill and wonder they expected, many describe their experience as underwhelming, overpriced, and nothing like the Vegas they remember. For a city built on the promise of excess glamour and non-stop indulgence, the sight of half-empty towers feels like a red warning light flashing above the desert skyline. And that raises the question, what exactly is going on in Las Vegas? The truth is, the Strip isn't sitting back and waiting for disaster. Behind the flashing neon and glossy ads, hotels and casinos are scrambling, testing out survival tactics in secret. From desperate discount wars to reinvented guest experiences, from cutting costs on service to betting everything on mega concerts and arenas, the strategies being deployed today could either save Las Vegas or destroy the very magic that made it famous. But as we'll uncover, each move comes with its own risks, and none of them address the real problem. So stay with us, because what's happening in Las Vegas right now might be the biggest identity crisis the city has ever faced. The first sign that something is deeply wrong in Las Vegas isn't the sight of empty slot machines or half-filled theaters, it's the sudden flood of hotel discounts. For decades, the Strip thrived on the image of untouchable luxury, charging premium rates and layering on resort fees with no fear of driving tourists away. The logic was simple: people would pay because the Vegas experience was supposed to be worth it. But in 2025, that logic is cracking. The numbers tell the story: hotel occupancy sliding to 76% during what should have been a peak holiday weekend. That drop may sound modest, just 7 percentage points from last year, but in the Vegas economy, it's a financial earthquake. Tens of thousands of rooms left unfilled translate into millions in lost revenue, and the impact ripples outward into restaurants, clubs, casinos, and even the cab drivers who depend on those visitors. So the giants of the Strip, MGM Resorts, Caesars Entertainment, and their rivals have responded with something almost unthinkable a decade ago: bargains. 20% off bookings, credits for gift shops, discounted tickets to shows that once sold out effortlessly. What was once billed as luxury excess is now being sold with coupons, bundle deals, and veterans discounts. On the surface, these promotions look generous, even clever. But beneath the surface, they reveal something much darker: desperation. Las Vegas isn't handing out perks because it wants to reward loyal guests. It's doing it because it has no choice. The psychology of the discount war is especially dangerous. Once customers realize you'll cut prices to fill rooms, they start waiting. Why book a full-price stay in August if they suspect Labor Day will bring a 20% markdown? It's the same trap retailers like Macy's fell into during past downturns. The short-term boost in bookings comes at the cost of long-term brand erosion. And in a city like Las Vegas, where the brand of glamour is half the product, that erosion is deadly. For tourists, the discounts can feel like a hollow victory. A Wisconsin couple interviewed over Labor Day admitted they were surprised by how empty the Strip felt. Yes, they saved a little on the room, but the excitement wasn't there. Their bigger complaint wasn't the hotel price at all. It was the everyday nickel and diming. $9 for a bottle of water, $40 for a burger, fees stacked onto every bill. The irony is, painful Vegas hotels may lure guests with a 20% discount only to drive them away again with the basics. No amount of vouchers can hide the sting of overpaying for necessities. And the math gets worse for the casinos themselves. Every free ticket, every discount, every bundled perk eats into revenue streams that used to be dependable. What once made Vegas feel like the land of plenty, lavish buffets, free-flowing drinks, cheap entertainment, was in fact a carefully calculated system that depended on volume. The rooms, the shows, the tables all fed each other. By discounting one part of the ecosystem, casinos risk starving the others. This is why the discount war feels less like a strategy and more like a gamble. It buys time keeping occupancy from falling off a cliff, but at the same time, it risks training customers to see Vegas as a bargain bin brand instead of the world's premier playground. The very reputation that made Las Vegas thrive, the idea that you could live like a king for a weekend, is slipping away. And that's only the beginning, because discounts are just the opening move. As we'll see, the Strip is quietly reshaping the entire visitor experience, trying to sweeten the deal with perks and freebies that may sound enticing, but come with problems of their own. If slashing room rates was the opening move in Vegas's survival game, the second tactic reveals just how far the city is willing to go to keep visitors from fleeing, reinventing the experience. In 2025, checking into a Las Vegas hotel no longer just means getting a room key. It increasingly comes with a bundle of extras, discounted tickets to the high roller Ferris wheel entry, to the Paris-themed Eiffel Tower attraction, or even vouchers for shows that once carried steep prices. The message is clear: it's not just about where you sleep anymore, it's about sweetening the deal enough to make you believe you're still getting value in a city that has lost its monopoly on entertainment. That monopoly was once unshakable. For decades, Las Vegas was unmatched, a neon-lit oasis of spectacle where gambling, nightlife, and over-the-top indulgence could only be found on the Strip. But in 2025, competition is everywhere. Cheaper resort cities in the Southwest cruise lines offering all-inclusive experiences and even theme parks with glitzy nightlife options have chipped away at Vegas's dominance. Tourists who once booked without hesitation now compare prices and ask a painful question: why spend double in Vegas when Miami Phoenix or even a Caribbean cruise promises just as much fun for less? Faced with this reality, the Strip is pivoting. Hotels are packaging perks as part of the stay, hoping to recreate that old sense of abundance. In theory, it's a clever move. Instead of lowering prices further and undermining the brand operators frame the offers as added value. But in practice, many guests aren't impressed. Christina, a first-time visitor, admitted the perks felt shallow, while her friend Debbie, a repeat guest, said it wasn't enough to justify coming back. Their reaction highlights the risk. If tourists feel gouged on essentials like food and water, the shiny extras lose their magic. Saving $20 on a Ferris wheel ride means little when you just paid $9 for bottled water. From a business perspective, the cost of these giveaways is another ticking bomb. Every comped ticket or discounted attraction cuts into revenue streams that were once the city's lifeblood. Vegas was built on volume, the idea that every guest would pay full price for rooms, meals, shows, and tables, creating a web of profit that kept the city thriving. By bundling perks, casinos aren't just losing money on attractions, they're also training customers to expect more for less, further eroding the delicate balance that once defined the Vegas model. And then there's the branding issue. Vegas was never supposed to feel like a coupon book. Its power came from the illusion that everything was luxurious, glamorous, and just out of reach. When hotels start giving away experiences that used to be premium, the illusion of exclusivity takes a direct hit. A city once synonymous with indulgence risks looking like it's running a clearance sale. Still, these perks hint at a deeper realization on the Strip that to survive, Vegas must evolve. The old formula of charging for every little thing is breaking down, and the freebies represent an awkward but necessary experiment in finding a new way forward. Yet even as hotels throw perks at the problem, another more radical shift is already underway. Step inside a Vegas resort today, and you'll notice it not in the flashy promotions, but in what's missing. Fewer staff at the front desk, housekeeping that doesn't come unless you call, restaurants running with skeleton crews. This isn't a mistake. It's the next stage of survival. Las Vegas is quietly trading its famous service for cost-cutting, and that decision may change the city's identity even more than discounts or perks ever could. Step into a Las Vegas hotel in 2025, and you'll notice something strange right away. The lobbies feel quieter, the lines at the front desk move slower, and housekeeping only comes if you specifically ask. Restaurants that once buzzed with large staffs now operate with skeleton crews, and some bars experiment with robotic bartenders serving cocktails without a smile. This isn't bad luck or temporary inconvenience, it's a deliberate strategy. As tourism softens and occupancy rates slide, hotels are quietly transforming from service-driven temples of hospitality into cost-cutting machines. On paper, the logic makes sense. Labor is one of the biggest expenses in hospitality, and in 2025, wages are rising while demand is slipping. A 7% drop in occupancy may not sound catastrophic, but for Las Vegas, it means thousands of empty rooms and millions in lost revenue. Cutting staff, reducing services, and automating wherever possible allows hotels to preserve profits, at least for the short term. But in practice, the consequences are profound. What made Las Vegas magical wasn't just the neon lights or cheap buffets, it was the way the city made you feel. Dealers remembered your name, housekeepers refreshed your room daily, waiters treated you like royalty, even if you had only paid $99 for a room. That larger-than-life hospitality was the soul of the Vegas experience. Strip it away, and you risk stripping away the very essence that made the city unique. Guests are starting to notice. Tourists, already frustrated by resort fees and overpriced meals, now face longer waits for service and fewer personal touches. A Wisconsin couple visiting over Labor Day described feeling underwhelmed compared to past years. Their disappointment wasn't just about the price tag, it was about the atmosphere, the energy, the sense that the city no longer cared whether they came back. And in an era when a single viral TikTok or Instagram rant about poor service can reach millions, these impressions spread faster than any advertising campaign can counter. The shift toward automation also creates an uncomfortable contradiction. For executives, kiosks, mobile check-ins, and robots are efficient. For guests, they feel cold, transactional, and lifeless. A city that once thrived on human connection now risks becoming indistinguishable from any generic corporate resort. Ironically, the very cost-cutting moves meant to keep the lights on may be dimming the glow that drew people in the first place. Yet from a business perspective, the strategy buys time. Every staff position eliminated, every room cleaned less often, every bar run with fewer people helps hotels stabilize their margins in a shrinking market. Executives hope these measures will allow them to survive until demand rebounds. But what if it doesn't? What if the sacrifices made today permanently damage the brand tomorrow? Because while cutting service may preserve balance sheets, it erodes the guest experience. And when the guest experience is your product, no spreadsheet can hide the loss. This is why some industry insiders warn that Vegas may be playing with fire. You can't nickel and dime tourists while also cutting back on the very thing that made them feel special. Eventually, the bill comes due. Still, the Strip isn't just retreating into austerity. Even as service shrinks, hotels are doubling down on something else: spectacle. If discounts and freebies can't save Vegas, and if service cuts only buy time, perhaps the answer lies in something bigger, louder, and more dazzling. From billion-dollar arenas to superstar residencies, Las Vegas is betting that sheer spectacle can still draw crowds in a way spreadsheets and loyalty points never could. If discounts and perks can't fill the hotel towers and service cuts only buy time, Las Vegas has one more card to play: spectacle. For decades, the city thrived on the idea that every weekend felt like an event. Cheap buffets, flashing lights, and endless gambling were enough to create the illusion that something extraordinary was always happening. But in 2025, with occupancy sliding and loyal visitors drifting away, that illusion no longer sells. So the Strip has doubled down on mega events, betting that concert sports and billion-dollar arenas can do what room discounts and loyalty programs cannot bring the crowds roaring back. The results are impossible to miss. The Sphere dominates the skyline with its glowing visuals. Allegiant Stadium draws tens of thousands for NFL games and residencies, from superstars like Adele and U2 generate headlines around the world. For a weekend, these events transform the city. Hotel rooms suddenly fill, restaurants buzz with reservations, and casinos enjoy the spillover. To an outsider dropping in for one of these spectacles, Vegas looks alive again, pulsing with the same energy it once guaranteed every night of the year. But here's the catch: events are episodic, not consistent. A sold-out concert may pack the Strip for a few nights, but when the show ends, so does the surge. A blockbuster NFL game might fill Allegiant Stadium, but the following weekend, the city can look half empty again. You can't build a stable tourism economy on sporadic spikes of excitement, and the costs are staggering. Billion-dollar arenas, high-profile residencies, and sports franchises come with massive debt financing. If demand softens further, those glittering structures could turn into white elephants, giant underused burdens, dragging down the very companies they were meant to save. Tourists, too, are beginning to notice the imbalance. First-timers may be dazzled by the Sphere or thrilled to see a superstar live, but repeat visitors often walk away saying something is missing. They remember the old Vegas where you didn't need a $500 concert ticket to feel like every weekend was special, where the spectacle wasn't confined to an arena but stretched across the entire Strip. Now many feel that without the anchor of a mega event, the city is just another overpriced destination. Economically, the mega event gamble is risky in another way. High-profile residencies and stadium games draw in crowds willing to spend big, but they also create a tiered experience that leaves many feeling excluded. Not everyone can afford to drop hundreds of dollars on a concert ticket, especially when they're already paying inflated prices for food, drinks, and rooms. If Vegas leans too heavily on spectacle, it risks alienating the very middle-class visitors who once made the city thrive. Still, there's no denying the logic. In a world where competition for tourists is fiercer than ever, big shows and marquee events create a reason to choose Vegas over Miami, Orlando, or a cruise ship. They buy the city attention, and for now, they keep the Strip in global headlines. But the question is sustainability. Can Las Vegas reinvent itself as a city of once-in-a-lifetime experiences without hollowing out the everyday magic that made it legendary? Because while the spectacle strategy dazzles in the short term, it doesn't solve the deeper problem. Behind the lights and headlines, loyalty is fading, costs are climbing, and tourists are questioning whether the trip is worth it at all. And that brings us to the next battlefront in Vegas's fight for survival, rebuilding loyalty one perk and one promotion at a time. For decades, Las Vegas thrived on loyalty. Visitors swiped their total rewards or M-Life cards, racked up points, and returned year after year to cash in on comped rooms, buffets, and show tickets. It was a system that created a feedback loop. Guests felt rewarded, casinos secured repeat business, and the cycle kept the Strip buzzing. But when hotels piled on hidden fees, stripped down services, and raised prices across the board, that loyalty began to crumble. Regulars who once came multiple times a year suddenly started asking, why bother now with occupancy falling and competition rising? The Strip is scrambling to patch the damage. Loyalty programs are being rebranded and reloaded as weapons in the fight to win customers back. Caesars dangles 20% discounts for those who book early. MGM offers gift shop credits and special holiday perks. Some hotels even experiment with experience points, allowing guests to use loyalty rewards on attractions like the High Roller or Eiffel Tower viewing deck. The idea is simple: make Vegas feel generous again, even if it's only on paper. But the problem runs deeper than discounts dressed up as perks. Tourists can tell when they're being bribed instead of valued. Christina, a first-time visitor, shrugged off the incentives as unremarkable. Debbie, a long-time guest who once visited multiple times a year, admitted the perks weren't enough to justify another trip. Their reactions reveal a hard truth. Loyalty isn't built on coupons, it's built on trust. And once trust is broken, no amount of free show tickets can repair it overnight. From a business standpoint, loyalty resets are a double-edged sword. Offering too little risks irrelevance, offering too much cuts directly into profits. In a city where every percentage point of occupancy is worth millions, operators are walking a tightrope. A generous perk today may fill rooms, but it also eats into margins tomorrow. Worse still, if guests feel the perks are meaningless, like a freebie for a half-empty show or a discount at a gift shop, they may walk away more insulted than impressed. The irony is that Vegas has always thrived on the illusion of generosity. A comped buffet here, a free drink there, it created the sense that the house was taking care of you, even though the odds always favored the casino. That illusion made guests feel like winners even when they were losing. But once perks start to feel like coupons, the magic breaks. What should feel like a reward instead feels transactional, cheap, and desperate. Still, the push to reinvent loyalty reveals how aware the Strip is of its predicament. Executives know that keeping customers is far cheaper than constantly chasing new ones. By refreshing loyalty schemes now, they hope to reignite old habits before they disappear forever. The gamble is whether tourists already stung by high costs and reduced service will believe in that magic again. Because no matter how many perks Vegas throws at its visitors, there's one problem that discounts bundles, and loyalty cards cannot erase the crushing weight of affordability. The basics from burgers to bottled water have become so overpriced that many tourists feel fleeced before they've even set foot in a casino. And as we'll see next, this affordability crisis may be the single biggest threat to Las Vegas's survival. Ask any tourist what frustrates them most about Las Vegas in 2025, and their answer isn't the blackjack odds or the scorching desert heat, it's the cost of everything. What was once the land of cheap thrills has become a city where a burger can cost $40, a bottle of water goes for $9, and a modest hotel stay quickly doubles once resort fees, parking charges, and convenience surcharges are added in. That $150 room you thought you booked suddenly feels closer to $300 by the time you check out. For families and middle-class travelers, the math is brutal, and for the city, it's catastrophic. The economic data backs it up. Hotel occupancy that once hovered near 90% on peak weekends has slipped to 76%, down 7 points year over year. That drop translates into millions in lost revenue, not just for hotels, but for every restaurant, nightclub, and casino that depends on steady foot traffic. In a city built on volume, fewer visitors mean thinner margins everywhere. But the real damage may not be financial, it's psychological. Las Vegas built its global brand on the promise that anyone could feel like a high roller for a weekend. You didn't have to be wealthy, you just had to show up. Now tourists from Wisconsin, Texas, or Ontario walk away saying they felt overcharged, underwhelmed, and unlikely to return. And in the age of social media, those impressions spread like wildfire. TikTok videos and Instagram posts showing $9 water bottles or $55 resort fees rack up millions of views, turning individual frustrations into collective outrage. No amount of glossy advertising can compete with that kind of word of mouth. Suddenly, the very marketing dollars spent to sell the city's glamour are undermined by viral evidence that it's anything but. The irony is painful. Hotels think they're protecting profits by piling on fees and keeping prices high, but in reality, they're creating the worst of both worlds, higher bills paired with lower satisfaction. Guests don't just feel like they've paid too much, they feel tricked. And once that feeling takes hold, loyalty programs, free show tickets, or 10% discounts can't repair the damage. For investors and executives, the affordability crisis raises a chilling question: has Las Vegas permanently priced out the very customers who kept it alive? The city's economic model depends on scale millions of middle-class tourists coming back year after year. Strip away that broad base, and what's left is a playground only for the ultra-rich. It's a model that works in Monaco, but not in a desert city with tens of thousands of hotel rooms to fill every night. The danger is clear. If Vegas continues down this path, it risks hollowing out its own market. Wealthy elites may still buy $500 concert tickets or VIP table service, but without the energy of the crowds, the Strip loses its atmosphere. The neon lights shine less brightly when the sidewalks are half empty. And for a city that sells illusion as much as reality, perception is everything. This is why the affordability crisis may be the deadliest threat yet. Discounts and perks can't cover it up, and mega events can only distract from it temporarily. Unless Las Vegas confronts its core problem, the cost of basics, it risks pricing itself out of relevance. And that realization has pushed the Strip into its boldest experiment, yet not just changing prices or perks, but reinventing the very brand of Las Vegas itself. Las Vegas has always been more than just a city. It has been a brand, a promise whispered in neon. Come here and your ordinary life disappears. For decades, that illusion was enough. But now, with tourists complaining about high prices, stripped-down service, and a general sense of disappointment, that promise is cracking. And when the brand itself begins to crumble, the city faces not just an economic challenge, but an existential one. That's why the Strip, along with the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority, has launched a massive rebranding effort. Billboards along highways no longer shout about cheap buffets or all-you-can-drink deals. Instead, they promise immersive packages, exclusive access, and curated experiences. Digital ads present Las Vegas not as the land of bargains, but as a playground of prestige. Even discounts are dressed up in the language of luxury. A 20% price cut is marketed as a VIP insider reward. A gift shop voucher is pitched as a holiday experience. The desperation is still there, but it's hidden behind glossy language designed to preserve the illusion. Branding, however, isn't just cosmetic, it's survival. Studies show that tourists often justify higher costs if they believe they're paying for exclusivity. By reframing giveaways as elite perks, hotels hope to make visitors feel special again. The strategy is to restore the myth without lowering the margins. And for first-time guests, dazzled by lights and slogans, it might even work at least for a while. But repeat visitors are harder to fool. They remember the Vegas that once made them feel like royalty for a fraction of the price. When they discover that the so-called exclusive perk is really just a discounted ticket to a half-empty show, the disillusionment deepens. Instead of feeling like insiders, they feel tricked, and their disappointment spreads quickly through reviews and social media. There is also a risk of overbranding. When the marketing promises extravagance, but the reality delivers cutbacks, the gap between perception and experience grows too wide. In branding, that gap can be fatal. Because once visitors begin to see Las Vegas as smoke and mirrors, the illusion that sustains it collapses. Still, the reinvention push highlights how seriously Vegas takes the threat. The city understands that it cannot simply adjust prices or tinker with loyalty points. It needs to restore the myth. Without glamour, Las Vegas is just another overpriced desert city. And that makes the stakes even higher because the brand is only as strong as the people who buy into it. Which raises a bigger question: who exactly is buying in? Who is still coming to Las Vegas? And who is quietly leaving? The answer lies in the city's shifting demographics, and those shifts may reveal more about its future than any billboard ever could. For decades, Las Vegas could count on a reliable mix of visitors. Baby boomers flocked for retirement weekends. Gen Xers came for bachelor parties and concerts. Canadians escaped the long winters to soak up the desert sun and spend freely on the Strip. It was a steady cycle, a dependable rhythm that fueled the city's growth for half a century. But in 2025, that rhythm is faltering. The demographics of who comes to Vegas and who doesn't tell a sobering story. The first warning sign is the fading of repeat visitors. Couples from the Midwest who once made Vegas a multiple times a year tradition are starting to disappear. The Wisconsin couple interviewed over Labor Day is a perfect example. They used to return every holiday, but this year, even with discounts and perks, they admitted it wasn't worth it. When your most loyal customer base begins rethinking their trips, the red flags couldn't be clearer. International tourism, another lifeline for the city, is weakening too. Canadians, long considered the Strip's most reliable foreign market, are visiting less often. Stronger border rules, a high US dollar, and the simple fact that their money stretches further elsewhere have made Vegas less appealing. Every lost Canadian family means thousands in unrealized spending, not just on rooms, but on restaurants, shows, and tables. In a city that thrived on splurge culture, that loss is devastating. Then there's the younger generation, Gen Z and younger millennials. For them, slot machines and poker tables hold little appeal. Gambling once the city's heartbeat doesn't define their entertainment. Instead, they chase TikTok-worthy moments, music festivals, EDM nights, and experiences they can broadcast online. At first glance, this might seem like an opportunity, but the problem is price. When confronted with $9 bottled water, $55 resort fees, and meals that rival Michelin star prices, even younger travelers begin looking elsewhere. Cities like Austin, Nashville, or even international hotspots offer the same nightlife energy without the sense of being gouged. This creates a widening affordability divide. At one end are the ultra-rich elites, VIP gamblers, corporate high rollers, and fans willing to spend $500 for a concert ticket. At the other end is the vanishing middle class, the very group that gave Vegas its electric atmosphere. Without them, the city risks becoming a playground only for the wealthy few. That model might work in Monaco, but it's dangerous in Las Vegas, a city that depends on filling tens of thousands of rooms every single night. These demographic shifts aren't just numbers. They're a glimpse into the future identity of the city. If middle-class tourists continue to fade and younger generations choose cheaper, trendier destinations, Las Vegas could slowly bleed relevance. The Strip might remain dazzling on the surface, but beneath the lights, the energy that once made it irresistible could vanish. And that brings us to the most pressing question of all: what is Las Vegas now? Is it still the democratic escape where anyone could live like a king for a weekend, or has it stumbled into a full-blown identity crisis that could define its future for decades to come? For nearly a century, Las Vegas thrived on a simple identity. It was the city of reinvention, a place where the middle class could feel rich for a weekend, where neon lights promised freedom, and where every gamble, win or lose, was part of the fun. But in 2025, that identity is fractured, and the cracks are showing everywhere. Ask today's tourists, and you'll hear a common refrain: Vegas doesn't feel like Vegas anymore. Instead of thrill and generosity, visitors encounter nickel and dime fees, overpriced meals, and stripped-down service. Instead of warm, over-the-top hospitality, they find kiosks and skeleton crews. Instead of spontaneous magic, they face curated VIP experiences that cost more but deliver less. What once made Las Vegas democratic, accessible to anyone willing to take the trip, now feels exclusionary, hollow, and at times soulless. For hotels, this identity crisis is existential. Do they double down on exclusivity, rebranding the Strip as an elite destination only for the wealthy few? Or do they attempt to restore the middle-class magic that fueled decades of prosperity? Right now, they're stuck in the middle, throwing discounts at one end while pushing luxury branding at the other. The result isn't clarity, it's confusion. Guests don't know what Vegas stands for anymore, and neither do the operators. The stakes couldn't be higher. If Las Vegas chases exclusivity, it risks losing the wealthy elites to Monaco, Dubai, or other global luxury hubs. If it tries to lure back the middle class, it risks cutting profits too deeply to satisfy investors. By straddling both, it risks alienating everyone. The wealthy see through the smoke and mirrors branding, while the middle class can no longer afford the basics. Industry insiders are divided. Some argue this is just another chapter in Vegas's long history of reinvention, a temporary slump before the city adapts again. Others warn it's different this time because the social contract is broken. The promise that anyone, no matter their background, could escape into a weekend of indulgence has collapsed. Without that promise, the illusion of Las Vegas loses its power. Tourists themselves are the ultimate judges, and their voices are growing louder. It just doesn't feel worth it anymore, say longtime regulars. First-time visitors leave underwhelmed, unlikely to return. And in an era where every disappointment becomes content online, their words echo louder than any neon sign. Las Vegas hotels are throwing everything they can at the problem: discounts, perks, mega events, loyalty programs, rebranding campaigns. But until they decide who they're really serving, the Strip will remain caught between past glory and an uncertain future. And that brings us to the end of this story, or perhaps the beginning of another. Because the truth is, Las Vegas isn't just fighting for hotel occupancy or weekend crowds. It's fighting for its very soul. The question that remains is simple but haunting. Who is Las Vegas really for now? So here we are, a city once defined by limitless energy, endless crowds, and the promise that anyone could feel like royalty for a weekend, now finds itself at a crossroads. Las Vegas has tried everything: discount wars, perk, bundles, service cuts, mega events, loyalty resets, and glossy rebranding campaigns. Each tactic has bought a little time, but none have solved the deeper problem. Visitors aren't leaving because they want more coupons. They're leaving because the magic that once made Vegas irresistible is fading. The solution, if there is one, won't be found in gimmicks. It lies in restoring value where it matters most. That means making the basics, food, water, and rooms, feel fair again, not predatory. It means remembering that service, not just spectacle, is what turned first-time tourists into lifelong loyalists. And it means deciding once and for all who Las Vegas is really for. If the Strip wants to survive, it cannot afford to be everything to everyone. It must choose chase the elite few and risk hollowing itself out, or embrace the middle class again and rebuild the broad base that gave the city its electric atmosphere. Because at its heart, Las Vegas has never been about slot machines or stadiums. It has been about escape and illusion so powerful that people from every walk of life were willing to cross the desert just to believe in it for a weekend. If the city can find a way to restore that illusion, Vegas might yet reinvent itself again. If not, the neon may keep glowing, but the soul of the Strip could vanish into the desert night. So what do you think? Has Vegas lost its magic forever? Or is this just the beginning of its next reinvention? Drop a comment below and don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives.